Executive Suite with WPRI.com reporter Ted Nisi.
This spring brought some rare good news about Rhode Island's economy. The Irish food manufacturer Greencore announced plans to move its regional operations to Quonset Business Park in North Kingstown, with plans to eventually employ nearly 400 workers there. The relocation will help Greencore meet growing demand for its sandwiches and other ready-to-eat foods along the East Coast, where its major clients include 7-Eleven and Starbucks. This week on Executive Suite, the CEO of Greencore USA, Liam McClennon. Welcome to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi. Liam, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So before we start, you have an accent, but it's not an Irish accent, even though people at home might not know. They know they're Rhode Island accents. Where are you from?
No, I'm from London, England. So Irish name, but London accent.
Irish name, Irish company, but London born and bred and trained to speak. All right.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's start off with a simple question. Tell me a bit more about Greencore. What do you do at the company? What's your business, and why are you coming to Rhode Island?
Sure. Okay, well, I run the North American operation, and Greencore is a convenient food producer based both sides of the Atlantic. So we have a big business in the UK and an emerging business here in the US. And we largely focus on convenience food. So we make sandwiches, we make sushi, we make entrees. We do some other more specialty products back in the UK, but on the whole, we focus exclusively on food on the move, food to go.
And you don't just make sandwiches. You are, I believe, the world's largest sandwich manufacturer. Is that right?
We are indeed the world's largest sandwich manufacturer, yeah. So we're making north of 7 million fresh sandwiches a week. And some of our plants, if they really need to, can make 1 million fresh sandwiches in a day.
Wow.
So yeah, we certainly make a lot of fresh sandwiches.
Put the Bible to shame getting that much food out in that much time. Now, where convenience food, I think people have a sense, but where would people buy Greencore food? They're not going to ever see something with the Greencore label on it, right?
No, we don't have a brand. We kind of pride ourselves on being the guardian of other people's brands. So you know, if a big retailer wants to have a product out there in their name, they need to know that it's safely made to a high quality, and with good customer service and availability. So we're always behind the scenes, but we're doing all of that hard work. So we would be in categories like convenience stores, coffee shops, grocery retailers, maybe some pharmacy type retailers, that kind of area where you would go and do shopping. So not so much restaurants or more food, prepackaged food that you would buy.
And how much of it with your clients, is it a menu where you say, we make these things and they choose, and how much do you work with them and they say, we want to be able to serve these things, and then it's up to Greencore to figure out how to make that and get it to them?
Yeah, it's all of the above. It's a very complicated process of us understanding the consumer and the category in the market as well as our customers do. And helping to lead them to where there's gaps in the market or perhaps opportunities for a product upgrade, but also they have their own product development teams, as do we, so they would have a chef or a creative team, and they would come to us and say, hey, do you think you could make this, or would you like to, or can you just? So it becomes very collaborative, and different projects have different degrees of Greencore input, but because we place such a high emphasis on a very strong food safety process and a very strong quality process, it's important that we're involved from the start, just so that things are designed for manufacture in the correct way. So it's very collaborative.
Greencore has a kind of an interesting backstory, a history. Originally founded in the 1920s as the Irish Sugar Company, right, which was a government monopoly.
It was indeed a government monopoly. It's founded, I think, in 1930 itself, and for over 60 years was a sugar processor. And increasingly an agricultural processor, so apart from sugar beet, making sugar, there was also lots of fertilizers and seeds and all the inputs into what was obviously a very agricultural economy in Ireland through those years. But like lots of Western economies in the mid to late 90s, they decided to privatize, nationalize industries, and Greencore was privatized and listed at the time on the Dublin and London stock markets. Wasn't much loved as a commodity company. It had all the vagaries of weather, and also sugar in Europe at the time was subsidized by the European Union, and was inherently not a very profitable business because it was run on subsidies. So
it's really been it's a hugely different company now. I think you're out of sugar altogether now at Greencore.
Yeah, we're out of sugar altogether. It's enormously different. The management team back in the day decided to get into convenience food, and at the time in Ireland and England, we had less choice than you have in the US around places to eat and go to get food. And largely the grocery retailers were the place that were looking to create chilled, convenient, easy to do food, as mum and dad were both working and people are time poor. And Greencore saw a big opportunity in that and invested in a business in England that became the kind of core of what we are today, really. So massive move out of agriculture and sugar into right up the other end of the value add scale.
But the theme staying food all through.
Yeah, absolutely.
So give people a sense, we alluded to it, the world's biggest sandwich manufacturer, but the scale of the business, Greencore, now it's quite a large enterprise, and based on your results just came out this week, big plans to keep growing it, your CEO Patrick Convey has said.
Sure, yeah, so in dollar equivalent, we have about $2 billion of revenue. We have over 11,000 employees now, well over 20 plants, and I think I'm right in saying that about half of those plants, if not a little bit more, are all focused on food to go. So we have several facilities that would focus just on sandwiches, maybe just on sushi, maybe just on entrees, and they get very skilled and expert at what they do. But big businesses. I mean, with sometimes as many as 2,500 people in a plant. Takes a lot of managing, organising, and a lot of investment in training. People development and obviously capital and equipment as well.
And you said recently in a different interview you were talking about, because Greencore only came into the States about half a decade ago, around 2008, I believe.
April 2008.
So you said one thing that you think has helped make the company successful is a different approach to quote chilled manufacturing than the American companies that were here working when you got here. Tell me a little more about that. What's different to you about the Greencore approach to this business?
Sure, I think most businesses make safe food. I think we have a slightly different way of cracking that code. So we have a different way of approaching how we structure our facilities, how we invest in them, how we run them, how we manage them. We tend to segregate what we would call a low care part of the factory from a high care part, and that's about de-risking the ready to eat product from as much as we can from contamination, from pathogens. And that's just a different way of doing things. We've found that it's very effective and efficient, and it's struck a very sound chord with our customers in terms of our approach to food safety. And in addition, we're a very process-driven company, so we tend to find that the combination of great food safety standards, great quality standards, and lots of lean manufacturing standards, you get a very controlled, disciplined process, which customers and consumers alike see the benefit of.
Tell me a little more about how the company came to be in the U.S. You'd obviously been growing and changing the business for about 2 decades in Ireland after the transition out of sugar. Yeah. How did the company get its start here in America?
Yeah, so the journey that I told you about earlier on the move out of agriculture and commodity and into value-added food was into a market in the UK and Ireland at the time that was in explosive growth. But we're actually a very small island. There's only 50 odd million people in England, and there's only so many times you can persuade people to go to the supermarket and buy food. So I'm guessing it was about 10 years ago now. There was some writing on the wall around a maturing market and around Greencore as a public company needing to have revenue and growth opportunities for its stakeholders and shareholders. And in the UK, the market is split between brands and private label about 50-50. And in convenience food, chilled convenience food, it's even more dominated by private label and less by brand. So it would be about 90% private label and about 10% brand in the UK. It's almost the exact opposite in America. So in the general grocery market, it's about 20% private label and about 80% brand. And in chilled convenience food, it's probably 90% brand and 10% private label. So as a private label manufacturer, we felt that there was a big kind of macroeconomic reason for coming to the US market. And certainly, those retailers that want to differentiate themselves, it's very hard to compete on the price of a brand item of cornflakes or toothpaste or coffee grinds. So more and more people are choosing to compete in food and the kind of edge of store deli bakery section. And that played well to us. We kind of specialize in that area. We don't carry a brand. We like to do private label. And more retailers, whether they were grocery, coffee shop or C-store players, were wanting some of that joined up skill set. So it played to our strengths and the opportunity that we needed to create for ourselves.
All right, we have to take a break. Just remind people at home, private label, that's a different company that does food under the brand of the company that's actually selling it,
sometimes
right?
I think it's called retailer label.
Yes, okay, so we'll get you all up to speed, right up to speed. And after this, we're going to talk more about Greencore coming to Quonset and opening up a factory in North Kingstown. Stick with us for that on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi, and very pleased to be joined this week by Liam McClennon. He's the CEO of Greencore USA, the North American division of Greencore Group, the big Irish convenience food manufacturer that's now building a big new factory at Quonset Business Park in North Kingstown. And I want to, Liam, go right to that project. People were very excited to hear in March about a new company coming to town, choosing Quonset. But before we talk about the choice of Quonset itself, position us where you were thinking, and why was the company thinking we need a new location? What had you out looking for a place to go?
Yeah, several reasons. Some of them were based around the geographical location of our current sites. One especially is in kind of almost as far northeast as you can get in this part of the world, and with short life convenience food, it's hard for us. We have a very limited trucking distance that we can go in order to keep the quality at the level we want to. So that was one problem, was around geographical location. Secondarily, just physical space, capacity. The layout and the design of the factories was quite old. And wasn't what we would see as leading standards.
Because you hadn't built your current Massachusetts factories, right? You acquired them.
We'd acquired them. We've invested quite a lot in them, but we were still finding that the distances involved were becoming a challenge, and we wanted to be more equidistant between kind of New York, Boston, just get further down the East Coast so that we could stretch up and down this part of the East Coast more easily. And in addition, as we've grown, we're literally running out of space, and we needed a bigger and more modern footprint.
Of course, a good problem to have, I assume, as a CEO.
It's a nice problem to have. There's challenges as ever with growth, and running a growth business does bring its own challenges, but it's always way more positive to be dealing with. Yeah. How do I cope with growth?
Right now you have 7 sites, Newburyport and Brockton over in Massachusetts, and then Virginia, Utah, Florida, Minnesota. Did I get those right?
I think you did. Yeah.
That's good. Right. Just check to make sure you hadn't opened your change.
Ticking them off in my head there. Yeah.
So give us a sense with the new Quonset building. Is it just the 2 Massachusetts sites will be consolidated and then grow in Quonset, or will anything change with the others?
No, I think it's largely the 2 in Massachusetts. Again, because of the short life nature, it would be almost impossible to think that something fresh from Jacksonville could translocate up here. So it's all about the 2 Massachusetts sites. And they will fold into that site in terms of their customer mix, product mix.
And we're looking here at pictures of Quonset Business Park. Tell me, what are you building down there? What's the project that got the approval that you're going forward with?
I was actually just down there this morning, and we've already started. So there's construction going on and contractors there with their machinery. We're in phase 1. We're building a 107,000 square feet facility that will house approaching 400 people. And we're hoping to have it built by end of January, obviously subject to New England weather and whether we can get weather tight before the fall. The construction guys promised me that we will be. And we think it's going to be state of the art. We're calling it our flagship site. It's the first site that Greencore's built in over 20 years. And we're using every piece of technology that either we collectively know or we're using outside resource to make sure that we're building it to the highest standards possible.
So your hope is you'll be churning out food in North Kingstown in January?
No, I think we'll be ready by the end of January. I think we'll probably use February, March to recruit, trial, train, commission, and get scaled up. I would imagine we'll be fairly full bore end of March, early April. Small bit of uncertainty there just because we've got so many moving parts to do, but it'll be the spring.
Of course. Now you mentioned jobs there. People are going to be excited, but of course knowing that you have locations already in Massachusetts, is it just all the same employees moving, or do you think you'll be hiring in Rhode Island?
No, absolutely. It's not all the same people moving. Now clearly we will be closing 2 sites. There'll be some people that will be interested to move, and certainly some of our workforce at Brockton already lives in Providence. So I think for them especially it'll be a different commute, south rather than north. But no, I think we'll be recruiting large numbers of people, and that was always the plan. was that we've got a big demand for people, and we would expect to be recruiting locally. And having some kind of blend. Obviously, we want to be supportive of our current workforce, and we do need to bring in some skills and some knowledge so that we can seed the production facility with people that already understand how we like to operate. But I think we'll be having a big recruitment drive, probably starting in the fall as we start to think about who do we need and what do we need in terms of skill sets, and begin that process.
And when we're talking about around 400 people, and this first facility that you're hoping to have done and open and going next winter, spring, is there room to grow further on this site? Is that part of the plan? How do you see that fitting in?
Yeah, so there's some room within the site that we're building currently, so we're going to put in, I think at last thought, about 7 production lines, and we've got space for 10. We can then expand about another 50,000 square feet on the site, so that would mean another building project. But it would be, approximately another 50% growth based on the original structure. So plenty of room there, both internally and externally, to continue to expand, as well as obviously, like most production facilities, shifts and shift patterns. We can utilise that as well to help manage growth.
And we're coming up on a break, but before we go to it, I have to ask, what kinds of food will you be making at the Rhode Island factory?
The vast majority is going to be sandwiches, so fresh sandwiches, but we'll do some things like parfaits, some kind of snack boxes, maybe some kind of green salad, chef salad, Cobb salad, snack type salads, but I would guess about 80% or more will be sandwiches.
The world's biggest sandwich manufacturer, that's how it happens. All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about why Quonset was the right choice for Greencore and hear a bit more about their plans down there in North Kingstown. Stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nesi, and my guest this week is Liam McClennon. He is the CEO of Greencore USA, North American division of Greencore Group, the Irish food manufacturer. We've been talking about their plans to build a big new factory in Quonset, set to open next year, it looks like, or in the first part of next year.
Early part of next year.
Have it going. So, Rhode Islanders, I was saying to you off air, have gotten pretty down on themselves in the economy, and in some ways for good reasons with some of the headlines. So people were very struck by this positive announcement that Greencore had chosen Quonset, wasn't stuck here, decided that was the place. Tell me why. Why was Quonset the right choice for you?
Yeah, well, like I said to you earlier, it was an easy choice in the end, but we actually did a really disciplined search for where should we be, and we recruited some expert help from some consultants that specialise in logistics and site readiness and a whole manner of things. I mean, the document that we landed up with was about that thick, but it was really easy at the end of that to say, here's where we should be. So as we looked at the varying inbound, outbound logistics capabilities, where vendors were, where there was a workforce, and the fact that the site was here in Quonset, it was really easy, but it was kind of at the end of several months of really doing some fine-tuning around where should we be on the East Coast, and Quonset just kept coming to the top. Whatever way we looked at it, whatever way you cut and dice the data, Quonset was just the right place.
And one of the things that they talk about at Quonset a lot is their site readiness program, and it's a little dry maybe for the people at home, but it's basically a way to very quickly get up and going if you decide to use a site there. How important was that to your decision?
Yeah, it was incredibly important. We, like most businesses, we want to move at pace. And certainly we were in a real hurry to get the factory built, and given the vagaries of the weather in New England, it's important that we get weather tight before the weather hits. So having a shovel-ready site, not having to worry about permitting and too many design and committees, it was really, and that, like I say, it was one of those big parts of the Quonset choice, was when and how quickly can we start. And Quonset has always been a front runner, and nobody else really came close, actually. Everybody else had a very long lead time to be ready to do construction, and it's already started, and it's a pleasure to see that what the guys told us would happen has happened about moving at pace.
I also thought it was interesting you went with a 50-year lease. That 50 years seems awfully far away at the moment to be making any plans for 50 years from now, instead of a 25-year lease. Why did you decide to go for such a long time in this project?
Well, I think because it's such a big capital investment for us. I mean, we're going to be spending approximately $40 million. And even a 25-year lease just about copes with the depreciation, but 50 years gives you, we're going to be here for a long time. We're investing a lot in the plant, and we tend to stay where we go for the long term. So 50 years, always felt like a long time, but actually in the cold light of of assessing it, it was the right thing to do.
You're still the Irish Sugar Company 50 years ago from here.
Yeah.
So you also got there's an incentive program there, a break on the rent, I believe, from Quonset Development Corp,
did, yeah.
and that's based on your payroll at the end of the year.
Yep.
How did that impact the decision? Was that key? Was that an important piece?
It was important. I mean, they're all part. I mean, no one thing is the magic bullet to say that's why we should do something, but shovel readiness, some support around, the cost of the land there, some other support that we've had around, training and job creation. They're all part of the jigsaw puzzle that helps make a decision. And we were obviously looking at the same parts of the same jigsaw puzzle in other parts of the country, but just the combined effect of all of those different things at Quonset just made sense. So they're all important, but no one would be a magic bullet.
On the other side of the ledger, there's obviously a lot of discussion around about the drawbacks to doing business here. People concerns about the tax climate, regulations, the skills of the workforce. I mean, did that play into your decision at all? Did you have concerns like that, or did you feel this? Were there actually not too many drawbacks from your situation to come to Rhode Island?
I can't say personally, or even from our corporate perspective, we saw too many drawbacks. We've always seen it as very welcoming, very supportive, and we like to think we're specialised, so we do a lot of training. We do a lot of in-house training. So even if skills don't perhaps exist in the local community, we feel very able to manage that by bringing training and development into the workforce. So, we weren't too worried about particular skills. There's one or two locally that I'm sure we're going to be leaning on, but we generally spend a lot of time training and developing our own people.
I'm curious, you're an Irish company, Greencore. Rhode Island, we're nearly as close to Ireland as you can get while staying in America. Do you think there's a lot of room for a place like Rhode Island to look to companies that are in England, that are in Ireland, that are looking to expand, to come here because it's somewhat closer than going to Minnesota or something?
Absolutely. I mean, partly, when Greencore first came to the Boston area, it was. I mean, it sounds comedic, but it was as close as you could be to Dublin, and it was a very, and you can get here quicker than you can get to Seattle. So from here, that is. So yeah, I'd encourage people, and I certainly think that Rhode Island is a very business-friendly state from my perspective. I mean, it's been very easy, collaborative, and we certainly had choices about where to work, and it's another one of those bits of the jigsaw puzzle is how easy does it feel to do business here, and it definitely felt like one of the more easy places to work. And we work in several states in the US, so we've got some good context for Rhode Island in and amongst its kind of peer group of other states looking to encourage inward investment. So no, I'd be very supportive of people that were thinking of coming here.
All right, that's all the time we have this week. I want to thank you, Liam, for being here with me, and I want to thank you for tuning in and hearing all about Greencore. When those jobs come up, I'm sure you can check out their website for more information on that later on this year, 2014. Be sure to tune in next week. My guest will be Dante Bellini from the RDW Group. If you missed any of this episode or any other episode of Executive Suite, you can catch them all on our website, WPRI.com. And we'll see you back here next week on Executive Suite.